my name's Rachel Collingridge. This is my first Wellrailed. Kelly told me that, on your first time you come, you need to present. So I'm looking forward, especially down back there, to see what you've got to say later on. So I am a Ruby on Rails developer in training. About 2 weeks ago, I started at Powershop. Before that, I was a .NET developer at Frond for about 10 years. And for an undisclosed amount of years before that, I was a Visual Basic developer in the UK. So yeah, I think how I got to being in the Microsoft stack and working there for a long time to being where I am now, that might be another talk, not that I'm volunteering. So I guess suffice to say that I've worked in the enterprise arena in .NET for quite a long time, and now in the last 2 weeks I've been doing some Ruby. So my balance of what I know about is a bit out. In fact, what I know about Ruby is pretty much based on writing a mastermind app that I'm doing at the moment. It's not quite what I was doing in .NET before. So anyway, I guess this is just a personal journey through what I was doing, what I'm doing now, and what I'm finding. So, and that way I can't be wrong because it is just from my my little worldview. So, things I'm enjoying using. I'm enjoying using the Rails console. If you're a Microsoft developer, you probably use in Visual Studio the immediate window, which lets you have a look at what's going on in your code, put a breakpoint on it, your code is built and compiled, you can analyze what's going on there. But you need to be running your application, so it needs to build to start with. It's not really a sandbox like this is. I can do some stuff like, I don't know, it might look like gobbledygook. It still sort of does to me, to be honest. So I'm in my little mastermind application. I've got a game object which I've written myself. I've done lots of testing. That's why I'm up to 75. So you can see there's some SQL going on there. That's pretty cool. That's just all happening.
What's SQL?
Oh yeah. That's another talk. So I go to the database and I'm getting some stuff back there. So that's pretty cool. That's working for me. That wouldn't happen like that in .NET. I can just have a look and see what's going on with what I have loaded back from the database. I could test out my Ruby syntax. I do that quite a lot because I'm not sure that what I'm writing is going to be a thing or not. In .NET, I would know because I'd have some big red squiggles under my code. That's not a thing. It's not going to compile. I'm not going to be able to test it at all. So this has been really cool, especially for me right now. So I was using that a lot before I got into doing some proper sort of testing. Now it seems to me that obviously in Microsoft you can do, you've got MS Test, yes you can write unit tests, but not everyone does. It's not really a fundamental part of what you do. Your project manager might not think, I sort of think it's a good idea you should be doing it, but when they see you spending a lot of time on it, I don't know, the value of unit testing isn't recognised as much. It seems to me that it's much more fundamental. That might be because the code is interpreted. There's no magic going on before it's loaded to check that what you put in there is even syntactically correct. The compiler in .NET does that for you, so you've probably got a good chance of things running in .NET and working sort of how you think. But I like this. I love this approach. I've been using RSpec. I've listed some stuff. Not really sure what a lot of that is. I've been using RSpec, and I think that's fantastic that unit testing is just part of what you do. And I can also see the point of test-driven development a lot more. I can't write a test in .NET that says, okay, I want to use this class. Before I've written the class, I'm not going to be able to compile that. I can't find a class that doesn't exist. I can do that here. So it makes test-driven development sort of work. Speaking of RSpec, here's something amazing that I wrote to make sure that my little game was working. And this is less an example of testing itself, but more the fact that I really like the way that you use natural language a lot. I think I found before in Microsoft land we're trying to contract things and there's lots of abbreviations and it makes sense at the time, but you come back in a little while and maybe not so much, or the other person who doesn't know the abbreviation, not so much. So it seems to me there's a lot of natural language. I've not been told off yet for making variable names too long. Hey, that might happen. Like I say, it's 2 weeks. But I like that. I mean, I sort of think you can just really read that. So
conversational is often how it's referred to.
Yeah,
Style.
absolutely. And this sort of, we've got a subject, we're looking at the method I've written. There's a context. This makes sense if something fails. I know where it's failed because I've got my nice little message come out there. So yeah, I'm really liking that. There is obviously a Microsoft community. I think it's got more sharey in the last few years, but it hasn't really been sharey so much before. I've been to things like TechEd where you've got thousands of people there and you've got someone standing up and talking to a few hundred people, and they can't talk about the little things they're doing. They need to talk about the really big stuff because someone's just paid $3,000 to turn up to the event, and it's quite a different thing. I started a bit of an initiative where I was working before to have this sort of dialogue with people and people sharing, and that's going really well, but it seemed like quite a new concept. So I would say that that's something that I'm really liking, the whole community aspect. So things like sharing knowledge, mentoring, that's happening a lot. The cross-training and looking at the talent of a programmer over their skill. To get in the door for a .NET job, you need to be .NETed up to here. Whether you're actually adept at being a programmer is sort of neither here nor there, I think. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. Obviously, I'm a living example of being cross-trained right now. Maven is a term I really like because it's about being really good at something, but seeking to pass that information on. That's definitely what I'm finding about this community. People are, like this. People are really trying to get you involved. And those Wales girls, I went to that. That's what started this whole thing off. Thanks. I really like creating a project in Rails because that's what you do. And in .NET, I have to choose between that, and I don't know, that's an hour you'll never get back deciding what it is that you really want to do. We're getting to the small things now, but that's quite a marked difference there. There's lots of cool things I like about the language because it's all OO. I mean, I've got something, number of guesses up there, but that could be the number 10 dot times. The code afterwards is going to happen 10 times. Can't do that in .NET. I just like it. I would have to do a little loop. Someone maybe in this room has told me the loops in Ruby, that's just a bad thing, and kittens will die, and that is now the mentor. So I just try not to do that. Again, with a natural language, I've got a class. It's a guess. It belongs to a game. It belongs to it. That's really nice use of language. To me, it seems really obvious what's happening there. I really like zip, random things. Zip on an array, you've got a couple of arrays, maybe they've 5 elements each. You zip them, you merge like a zip, like people are supposed to do on a motorway. It works better. Motorways. So, and I like pluralize because that will stop your average developer from just coming up with something rubbish. And so, yeah, that's great. So that will say, if you've got one guess that you've done, it's going to say you've made 1 attempt. If you've got 27, it's going to say 27 attempts. That's genius. Right, and this gets its own slide because I like it so much. That's the unless keyword. I don't know what it is about having bang something. That just makes my head go, when's the code underneath going to run? But saying that, unless a thing is true, go and do all this stuff. I really like that. You can tell I didn't like this in .NET because I put a .NET comment in it that doesn't understand it. Anyway, that's okay.
We tend to use very simple cases like that with unless. Because if you start going unless this or this or this and this,
unless doesn't make sense.
Which I have seen somebody write, and it just completely does my head in.
Right. Maybe it's just.
Yeah. But it's all about making it readable.
Yeah, totally. And for Mastermind, certainly. Actually, I'm not using it in Mastermind. I haven't really got much fingers broken going on there yet. I'm really enjoying using things like the command line and text editors and Macs because I'm feeling just a little bit more hardcore. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. So I've actually had a MacBook Air at home for a couple of years, put Parallels on and some Visual Studio, go me. So I've had a MacBook Air for a long time, which I've used. I had to do some IT support for my mum's Windows machine in the weekend, and that was a less than joyful experience. So I'm enjoying the sort of whole package. I think I've got an IntelliSense slide. I do miss it a little bit, but I'm feeling quite cool not using it. So in my good old .NET environment, I can take my. Oh, I know there's something like RubyMine and stuff, but I feel too uncool to go there yet. Yeah, but only if I've typed stuff before, doesn't it? Because I am using Sublime and I need to put it. It's not just going to go, hey, you're talking about or whatever, and I'll go and get all that fun stuff. Really? Okay. But I can't go there yet. I have to be hardcore with it. Oh, maybe I'll get you up. But I don't know. Actually, I think it's brought some brain cells back into life. I have to remember some things and learning a few keyboard shortcuts. Yeah, it's all great. So that's the only little bit of like nostalgia. This is a quote from a totally random person on Stack Overflow, but I really liked it, so I put it there, and that's pretty much what I think too. So that's it from me. Maybe in 6 months I should come back and say what I really think. But I'm pretty happy for the moment. Oh no! Oh God! Another two. That's about like half a dozen I've just done. So if you did that. Oh, we can go and have pizza.
Well, we've got to applaud you first.
Oh, yeah.